Lesson 6 of Codivate's web development course. And today we're going to be learning about Flexbox and we're going to do some more styling with CSS. Flexbox is a really important concept in web development. A lot of people use it, a lot of professionals in the industry use it, and I highly suggest you do too. And that's why we're learning about it today. So let's get started. Just a quick review of what we did last lesson. We learned about the box model, which includes the margin, padding, and border. And it's also a very important model we use when styling our pages. We pretty much add it to almost every div or block level element. And it's super helpful when we're designing our web pages. We're also going to apply the box model to create a two-column layout to our document, which we will use Flexbox for, and also learn how to specify our own color values instead of by specifying the generic color values of using the words red and blue. So first we're going to learn about colors, and in previous lessons we used the word to denote what color we wanted. So if we wanted purple, we would just say purple. But what if we wanted to choose our own custom colors? Like instead of just purple, maybe like a particular shade of purple that you really like. And we can't just do that using words. There are a lot of options, but using our own custom colors, that's a lot better and a lot more precise. So if we go to this website here, or if you want, you can just search up color picker, and then this appears. Well, okay, it's gonna take some time to load, but if you go to this website here, it provides you with your own hex value, your own RGB value, and your own and yeah, and so you can choose whatever color you wanted, and this has a lot of options. So, let's say I like this shade of green, right? I can just copy this hexadecimal color right here, and then I can paste it in my code. But so we can choose like our nice shade of purple, like right here, and then we can paste it in our code. So over here, I just made a lesson 6 .html file in my directory and a lesson 6.css file. And to link to our CSS, we can like write link relation equals style sheet href equals lesson 6.css. And this is exactly what we want. And how about we try testing out our color? So first, let's make a div class equals header, for example, and then we can have an h1 that saves my website. If you guys wanted to go ahead and do this on your own website, feel free to do so, but I'm just going to create it in this new HTML file. Now that we have our div container, let's go to our lesson 6.css. Let's have a header class and say background color is this. So the shade of pink that we chose. So we would just copy down the hexadecimal value. And since this is in hexadecimal, make sure you add this pound symbol in the front. It's also going to give you a nice preview of what the color is right here, so you kind of know about what color you're choosing. Let's add some other stylings. Let's have a padding of 70 pixels, and also let's do text align center to center our text. We can open it up here, and as you can see, this is kind of what we have right now. As you can see, there's a little bit of margin and padding that the body gives by default, so we want to clear that. So we would go ahead and do body margin 0, padding 0, and feel free to work along with me. Open up your browser and type this along too. We would also add the box sizing border box property. And if you guys don't know what this is, check out our previous video. We explain all about that property and why it's super helpful. And as you can see, the extra margin and padding kind of goes away. And we also, let's have our color, the color of our text be white. So the hexadecimal for white is FFF. And after using CSS for so long, you're just going to remember FFF is white and OOO is black. But let's keep it white for now. Yeah. That's nice. And as you can see, there's a hexadecimal value associated with this color. And we cut and copy and paste it just like we did. Now in our RGBA format, we can also specify the value or transparency of the color. So if we go back into our in our color picker, so the first value specifies the amount of red, the second value specifies the amount of green, and the last value specifies the amount of blue. So as you can see, in the color we chose, there's quite an amount of red and blue. We can also use this value, but what if we wanted to specify the opacity, right? So how about we just copy this value, so 192.56 and 222, and see what changes happen. So we just did RGBA. Okay, so our RGBA value is 192.56 and 222, and then we can copy, oh, so we can copy that value into our CSS. So here. And this is what we have, right? But we can also specify a fourth value, which is the opacity. So if we have an opacity of 1, and we go back here, obviously it doesn't look any different because it's fully opaque and you can visibly see it. But let's say if we have an opacity of 0.7, it's going to be a little bit lighter because the body is white, so the opacity is going to match whatever the color of the container element behind it. But for now, we want it to be 1, just so that it's a nice solid color, which is nice. You can also write your RGB format like this. So yeah, with the opacity value last. Now using Flexbox, well, we went over color and we're gonna go over Flexbox now. So first, let's kind of create just a sample. Let's create an example for what we're gonna do. So first, we're gonna have a container, and the container is gonna hold all of the boxes, all of the smaller boxes inside. So div class box, and then we're gonna have box A for A, and then just copy this a bunch of times to make 3 boxes. So okay, now that we created 3 boxes, let's see what appears. Okay, so it just appears like, if you guys can see it, A, B, and C, and this is the default for a div container. It doesn't really apply any styling. It's transparent. It's pretty not very interesting. So let's add some styling. So for our container, we're gonna add, let's say, 20 pixels of padding. We're gonna have the background color of, let's say, black. And also let's style our boxes. So for each box, let's have a width of 40 pixels. Let's have, or let's do 25 pixels. Let's have a height of 25 pixels. Let's have text align center. Let's also have a font size of 20 pixels. And for our last declaration, let's say box, let's have our color. So let's have this one a background color of AAA, which is like a light gray. And we can copy this for box B and C, and we can make this BBB, and then CCC. Alright, nice. Now let's see what appears. So box A, B, and C. Okay, so for here, instead of making 25, let's make it 250 just so it's a little bit bigger. All right, and our background color is box slash, oh, so we have to change it from box A to box C. I forgot to do that. Yeah, so we have this kind of nice gradient of colors. So how about we go here, and this is kind of like what we pretty much did. We added, we also added a line height here. So line height of 100 pixels. So if we did that, it would just put us there. All right, nice. Let's move on. So let's go ahead and add the display flex declaration to our container element. So now we're actually, so we kind of got the basic styling done. Now let's actually go into display flex. And let's see what this does. So if it originally looked like this, what's gonna happen? Wow, it's kind of aligned itself all into one row. So why does it do that? Like why? So the display flex property actually allows you to create a more flexible layout. And for this, in this instance, it allows it to be in one row. And that can be super helpful because it can also allow us to do a bunch of different things to just this row. For example, flex direction, flex wrap, justify content. We're going to learn all about those attributes today. So flex direction. Flex direction just specifies how to stack the items. So right now, what it is, and we also added to the container element. So flex direction, if we specify the value to be row, it's not going to look any different. As you can see, it's still a row. But if we did, let's say, row reverse, it's going to start from the opposite side and it goes from CB and then A. Now, let's try doing column and see what happens. There's also column reverse, which does what you think it does, puts in reverse, so A, B, and C, and then column reverse would just put it as C, B, and A. So that's actually really interesting and it can be super helpful. Yep, A, B, and C, and then C, B, and A. Flex wrap. So before we explain what this box does, let's go to, or what this property does, let's go to our HTML and let's make some more boxes. So instead of just A, B, and C, let's have C1, C2. I think 2 more boxes should be good enough. And also let's just have a bit of a border here, just so that we can, so border 1px solid white, or let's do 2px. And also I'm just gonna change this to row, flex direction row. All right, nice. So we have 5 boxes. So as you can tell, well, let's see what happens when we resize our browser. So when our browser gets smaller and smaller, just like when it gets to like a phone screen, these boxes get really, really thin. And when we move it out, obviously it gets a lot bigger. But when you get our width, the width of each box becomes really, really small. And that can be an issue sometimes in terms of responsiveness because a lot nowadays more and more people are using or going on websites on their phones. And let's say if each box was like some text, they would have to be squinting their eyes just to read all this text, or maybe the formatting wouldn't look really nice. So we're going to learn about a property that allows this to be a lot better. So what if we add the flex wrap property? So let's go ahead and in our container element, let's make it flex wrap. And then Oh, I think I didn't save my code. And as you can see, when we resize our browser, one of the boxes kind of move on to the next line when it hits this, like hits the breakpoint or hits the edge of the box. So that's super interesting. Um, and it can definitely help when we get into responsiveness or responsive design. Okay, flex flow is just a quicker way to specify the flex direction and the flex wrap property. So instead of just specifying this, what if we wanted it to be row and wrap? We would just say flex flow row wrap. So a lot of people just use it in one sentence, row wrap. It's going to produce the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Just a shorter way to put it. Justify content is a little bit more interesting. So if we have justify content center, so let's just try it with different values and see what happens. So center, wow, okay, it centers all the boxes. Flex end, okay, flex end puts it at the end. Flex start also puts it at the start. I don't really need to show that, it's pretty self-explanatory. What about space between? So space between is also interesting. It allows you to put spaces in between each box, and this can be helpful when you're creating a bunch of cards or whatever satisfies your needs. But it puts spaces in between, and the property space around would allow you to have a little bit more margin on each size, and therefore these spaces in between are a little bit smaller, but you also have this nice margin on the side. So those are some interesting styles or interesting properties that you can use. So space around, put spaces in between and before and after. Justify content space between only puts it in between. So here are some practice problems for you to do on your own. We will go over them next class, and make sure to explore and have fun with web development. It's all about exploring, learning new things, searching things up, and that's okay. So no harm, no foul, and go ahead and explore with all your might. If you guys have any questions, email team@codivate.org. Go to our Discord server and ask for help. And yeah, that's it for today's lesson, and I'll see you guys in the next one.